Music is fundamental, I'd say at least, to modern society. It's so rooted in everything that we do, and almost everybody has experience with it. I don't think you can find a single person that doesn't have some kind of experience with music. It revolves around the media that we consume. It's in our everyday lives. It can spark so many different types of emotions. It's hard to argue that it's not been a building block for so many things.
I just like being able to create something unique, something that other people can relate to, something that other people can enjoy.
If home is where the heart is, I wanna be with you. Yeah, nothing else will do. Back to where it all started, we didn't have a clue where this road would lead us to. But hand in hand and side by side we're walking down.
I mean, I've been in music my whole life, pretty much. Just growing up, being part of youth group and church and stuff, doing songs and singing a lot, but starting to really make music of my own. I would write little songs just for kicks when I was 14, 15. But when I started to really get into production and wanting to produce stuff, when I was 17, so 7, 8 years ago.
I first started making music, I think, when I was 14, I want to say. Making music. I've been writing music, I think, my entire life, really. But when I was around 14, I got FL Studio Mobile, which was just a program for my phone. So I made a couple rough things on there, but I think I made 2 songs. They were not very good. But I got my first actual professional equipment, a MIDI keyboard and a audio interface and a DAW when I was, I think, 15 in 2020, I want to say. So that's when I started actually using proper software on a laptop. I guess I make music because I've just always had this passion for music. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved singing, and then I enjoyed writing my own stuff. I'm a very creative person. I need to be doing something creative, or there just feels something empty. Music, I think, is my main passion. I just have that urge to create, and it's just so fulfilling to actually make songs, to write the lyrics, to do it all, and when you get that final piece, it's so fulfilling to see it all come together.
It'll be so great, you won't want to leave. And if the cops knock on our door, they'll hear the song that makes you wanna go.
The reason I started making music is a tricky question, actually. It's just something I know I've been interested in since a very young age. My grandma used to have this old keyboard, and I messed with that as a kid already. And later, when I really started learning piano and stuff and getting a bit more into it, the need for making stuff myself got in very quickly. Whenever I was practicing other songs or pieces, it always felt so cool and I want to do that too. So when I started doing stuff for myself, as in songwriting, that mostly started due to insomnia, because I would be awake in bed and with a spinning mind. A great way to kind of make something out of that whole situation was to write lyrics. It came very naturally, actually, because I was just going around in my head and thinking about stuff, and it just came out sometimes. So I had this notebook and a small flashlight by my bed, so whenever I felt like I came up with something decent, I would write that down. And later those could turn into songs or just snippets or cool ideas.
Imagine how that could
music is one of the most inspirational fields there is. I mean, people are inspired by so many things for their music that they make, which can then go on to inspire other people.
Headed out from the East Coast, driving fast cause I can't go slow. Where we're headed, no one knows.
If you're looking for bands that inspire my music, I would say originally Owl City was a huge one. He still inspires me a ton. But more recently, I've been getting more into a band called Set the Sky, and that's the type of music that I'm going for a bit more now. Still like to have like the Owl City influence kind of, but more of that Set the Sky type of sound. It's more of like a future bass, melodic dubstep type stuff, but incorporating like acoustic guitar into it as well.
Cliche, but the night sky looks so pretty. And as long as I have these friends of mine, I'll be doing just fine.
My music is inspired by a lot of things. I'd say, well, starting with artists, I definitely have a lot of artist inspiration. I think a lot of my roots are connected with a lot of the music I grew up with. So like artists like Owl City, Big Time Rush. I grew up with Big Time Rush, so that's definitely a big one. But then you have the other artists like the Chainsmokers and Marshmello, artists like that I grew up with, and that some of my favorite artists, so I kind of have gotten inspiration from them. In terms of like what inspires the writing and the making, I think sometimes just my regular life, my interests, the things I think about, sometimes I just get inspired by random things. Recently though, I've had a new direction where I've kind of been inspired by a story that I've been working on, and I've been using music as one of the ways to express that story and to build on that story in this kind of universe that I'm kind of creating and writing. Anything that can seems to find its way in, honestly.
What inspires my music? That's a lot of things. Well, as people might know, I'm a big Owl City fan, and I remember that when I found out it was just one person behind it all, I had this moment of like, okay, so maybe I can try that too. I've taken inspiration from a lot of places besides that though. I'm a big fan of many genres and styles, and I sometimes try to blend a lot as well. I like to just experiment and trying to broaden my skill set. Learning is something I really enjoy when it comes to music and stuff, so following tutorials, coming across a genre you've never heard of, and trying to make something that sounds like it are all great ways to like broaden your knowledge. And in terms of lyrics, it can be a lot of things too. With the lyrics, I like metaphors and clever word use a lot. And I guess that's also a big reason of why I like Owl City as much. So sometimes I come across a sentence or a word and it gets me thinking of what it means or what it could mean, depending on how you look at it. And whenever I write in metaphors, or not quite as direct, I really hope people can get their own meaning from it, or it kind of gets their head going and thinking about what it could mean. Or just apply it to how they want to feel it, I guess.
I think one of the fascinating things about the music making process is everybody's process usually looks really different. You have so many different artists that will have completely different methods for making their music, and their processes can look nothing alike.
most of the time what happens is I will write the lyrics and like the melody and do that myself. I'll pretty much make like the skeleton of the song, and I'll work with like lyrics, melody first, typically. And then what I'll do is, once I have that bass line, I'll try to build out like guitar, some sort of acoustic guitar riff, or something along those lines, just to like drive the song. And like maybe add some like piano riffs and like some smaller like bits and pieces to like drive the song, just to like fill out and like get the backbone of the song together, like accompany the melody. And then I typically work with other producers, just because I'm more of a songwriter than I am a producer at this point. So I typically work with other producers who will like make the beat for it, and who will like do more of like the background, like ambiences and things like that. So like I said, I like to say that I make the skeleton of the song, and I make like the structure of the song, and I fill it in to a degree, but then I have some other friends or other producers who I hire on to help make the song like full and pretty.
If you believe that time is just a fallacy to keep the things you cannot see unknown.
So, most of the time I'll just think of a lyric and I'll write it down, and then I'll want to build off of that if I really like it. Sometimes I have sat down and I've been like, I want to write a song, and then I gotta think a lot. That's way more work for me, honestly. Most of the time, I can think vaguely what I want, but it's not so easy to figure out the actual components. Figuring out what synths I want to use, what the bulk of that song is gonna be. I just kind of throw things out, experiment with different things, and sometimes I like it, and if I like it, I keep going with it.
If you believe that time is just a lie to fill the void until we die and give ourselves just a sense of purpose. If you believe.
So what is the process of making music like? That is a really hard one, because it can basically take any form. So sometimes there's a lyric first and I build things around it. Sometimes it's a cool production thing and then the lyrics are coming over top later. I feel like the best stuff for me is often the happy accidents. So like maybe a combination of the two, or just stuff comes out and it gets you going on a different path and it just fills in so quickly. Sometimes when writing lyrics it just flows out and there's a full song in just words where you can build on. So this one time I thought I want to write a song in 3/4, so like a waltz rhythm. And I grabbed my guitar to try and come up with something, and I wanted to get a chord, but I did it wrong, but it still sounded very cool. So I built the entire song around that. And because I was in the flow of like, I want to make it 3/4, I had 2 ideas down and I just built on top of that, coming up with melodies and stuff along the way. Having a small rule or restriction like that kind of works, I guess. So usually the empty canvas is great because you can do whatever. But when there's a challenge or some kind of restriction, you really start to get creative and have a direction, I feel like, because the open canvas is too broad sometimes, so having to work with something as a basis really works. Then for practical stuff with mixing and producing and such, there's often certain techniques and things you need to do in order to make it sound clean and all and professional. stuff you need to think about. But that all comes with experience, just picking up tricks here and there, trying different stuff, tutorials again, people I know that are in the business for way longer than me and know stuff like I feel like they actually know stuff. And trying to apply those things and just broaden your understanding of how it all works, that really helps.
Music today is more accessible than it's really ever been. The software you need has gotten fairly cheap across almost everything. And you're even able to get software on your phone to make music now. So it really is kind of easy to get into making music now, which is really awesome to see. As somebody that makes music, I think almost anybody that does make music would agree it's really awesome to be able to see more people sharing this passion and being able to get into this field.
What would you recommend to someone that wants to get into making music? I would say work on your songwriting skills first. Make sure that you're producing quality songs. Because you could be the greatest in the world at producing something, in terms of production and mixing and mastering, and be really good at all of those things, but if your songwriting is really crappy, no one's gonna listen to it. It could be the most beautifully produced thing, but if it's just very boring, generic songwriting that doesn't have any sort of life to it, and it's just bad, it doesn't have a good rhyme scheme, it doesn't have good visuals, it doesn't have, it's just not good writing, no one's gonna listen to it, no matter how well produced it is. So I'd say focus first off, before you even get into production, make sure your songwriting is good. Feedback from other people too, ask other artists that may be smaller, or other artists that are accessible to you. Ask them, is this song, do you think these lyrics are good? I even do that right now, with other producers.
It's day one, your new journey's begun, and you're starting to see the sun.
Just experiment, really. Don't go for professionalism. Look at your favorite songs and try to figure out how they made certain sounds. You really like a certain sound, figure out how to do it. Use your resources, really. Go online and look up those tutorials that are going to tell you how to do this and that. I think trying to wing everything and do it yourself, yeah, there's a certain aspect to that, but I think you don't need to do everything yourself. Look up those tutorials, try to figure out how those things work, because that one specific thing, having a tutorial that's going to teach you the ins and outs of it, you're going to understand so much more about it, and you're going to learn how to apply things that you wouldn't know. You're going to learn how to apply those things to different areas in the future. And I think just getting those basics, understanding those harmonies and all that, that's so important. So you really, I really do think one of the best ways is just throw things on the table, see if they work. If they don't, but if they do, you're gonna learn. And either way, you're gonna learn more about the process.
What's out there? The possibilities, maybe life on Earth isn't so special. Maybe time doesn't move in a line. Maybe we can go wherever we want to. Maybe we don't need to abide.
That's keeping me awake since I first let my head down after a great mistake.
Well, it has certainly become more and more accessible over the years, for sure. Without all the digital advancements, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now in terms of being able to record the things or getting certain sounds. So as long as you're a bit techy and can learn software and stuff, if you have a bit of understanding for music, so instruments or just a feel for it, you're off. Also, the amount of training and tutorials that are out there for free on YouTube and just the internet in general is very useful, and it allows people to just do things at their own level and pace. What would I recommend to someone that wants to get into making music? That might be a bit of like a, well, okay, sure answer, but just go and do it. No matter how, even if it's practicing an instrument, recording some demos, just write lyrics, start a band, whatever you want to do, just go out and do it. Having the thoughts about stuff is great, and starting something can be a bit daunting and scary, especially if it's like a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And it took me a great while to have the guts to do live stuff, so going out on a stage and doing things. But when you take the steps and get the joy out of it, it'll all be worth it in the end, so just go out and do it.
Now I'm swimming through the sky tonight, 'cause I'm leaving this horizon behind. I'm swimming through the sky tonight, 'cause I'm leaving this horizon behind. And we'll fly away again. And we'll fly away again. And we'll fly away again.
Huge thank you to December Air and Skyline Avenue for being a part of this documentary and answering all of my questions. After this, there will be a bunch of end cards showing where you can find them on Instagram, on Spotify, and there will also be end cards for all of those songs that were played. Thanks for sticking around, for watching all this, and enjoy the song.
A dream is only started while we're singing all